So tonight for Community University 3D modeling, we're going to get into part 2. So part 2 is a little more detailed. It has a couple interesting part features. Again, we're talking baby steps to getting ourselves into confident 3D modeling. So I'm going to minimize this, and then let's go out to Inventor. So you see I'm already into a new part and I have a new sketch. This should be no problem for you since we covered this in part 1. I am working in an inch IPT, so I'm going to start my 2D sketch with just a line this time. So I'm going to go from the origin and I'm going to go up. Okay, so I get my line and I've clicked once and then I've let go. So that first anchor point has let me start this. I will point it in my direction, and now you see the length is activated. The length of this line is 3 inches. Okay, so I'm going to hit enter. Now in Inventor and a lot of other pieces of software, once we start creating lines like this, it wants to chain lines. Well, for me, we can do that, and I can show you how to chain this and dimension it, but if you don't want to chain, again, there's other ways you can turn the chaining off, but if you just click on line again, it basically lets go of that chaining, and now we have the line tool again. So I'm going to click at this origin again and point it in this direction towards X, and I'm going to type in 3 inches. Okay, now I'm going to connect these over. The hypotenuse isn't really relevant at this point. I'm going to collect this, and you'll see once I create a closed loop of lines, my chaining stops. Okay, so now I'm going to finish this sketch. And again, zoom out a little bit so I can see what's going on, and I'm going to make a 3D feature out of this by extruding my model. So I click extrude, and since there's only one surface to extrude, it automatically selects it and gets it going. As in part 1, we had to select the surface because we had multiple closed loops. This gets extruded 3 inches. Okay, so then I hit OK or enter. Okay, so now I'm looking at my little wedge. Okay, the next thing we're doing to this is creating a hole right here. So I'm going to right click, and this is our heads up display. So I'm going to right click on this surface and go new sketch. So now we're sketching on this plane. We're going to drop in a circle. Again, the location's arbitrary. Now I could come in here and get it close, find the center, come down, but it's not a super accurate way of doing things. So I'm just going to drop this in, and the diameter of that is 1 inch. I'm going to grab my dimension tool, and I want this center point to be 1 inch, 1.5 inches from that outside edge. So 1.5, and I've got my dimension tool, and 1.5 from that edge as well, 1.5. Okay, so now our circle is centered. I'm going to finish that sketch, and now I'm going to use the extrude function to cut this out. So right now you can see that it's extending that out, but if I go up here and change my option and click on this cut button, you'll see it's now cutting through here. Now the proper way to do this isn't to just set a distance that we know will cut through this. We should change this to all. Just in case we ever scaled this shape up, it will continue to always cut entirely through this object. Then we hit OK, and hold shift, hold scroll wheel, move our mouse, and we have a hole through our wedge. Okay, the last object we're creating is a little cube on top of this top triangle. So again, to create a sketch up here, I'm going to right click, new sketch. Okay, and we're going to again create this from the origin or in this corner. I'm going to grab a rectangle tool, snap that, and you see the little green dot when I snap right at that origin. I'm going to get my square going in the direction I would like, and this is a 1 tab 1 square. So 1 inch by 1 inch square. Okay, look cool. We hit finish. Now to create this, to create a 3D object out of that, we're again going to hit extrude. Again, only surface available, so it automatically starts it, and that gets extruded 1 inch. Okay, now for this I'm going to go ahead and show you how to change these materials. Let's make this steel. Okay, so we're going to turn this little widget into a blue piece of steel. So I'm going to pull this down. This is my material list. So I'm going to come down. I'm going to just select steel. Okay, and then we are going to say we are going to paint this. Okay, so I'm going to come down to a sky blue. You can make this whatever you wanted, and now it has the properties of steel and the color blue. Okay, and this would be a good time to save. You have just completed part 2.